5 losses in a row, 8 of 9 overall. I hate to keep harping, but what more do they need to see?
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Hi, welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. I've spent a decent amount of time outlining why this coach needs to go recently, both on this show and on SteelCityPirates.com. That's not going to change no matter what happens the rest of this season. To me, it's just about when now. Today, I want to talk about Carmen Mlodzinski, a couple other coaching members who need to go, specifically who we could replace Carmen Mlodzinski with and should replace Carmen Mlodzinski with, and some boring structural changes that need to take place internally for this team. Let's start with Carmen Mlodzinski. First, if the Pirates didn't have a better option, I might actually be telling you to be patient or suggesting that a back end for this opener job that he's been doing, but they do have better options. Fans need something new to cheer for, and Bubba Chandler might just provide it. This would bolster the rotation that frankly hasn't been as good as it needed to be in order to have it drag this roster into anything that resembles a winner. In fact, it hasn't even been good enough to get them out of the basement in the NL Central. Sure, Bubba would experience things just like all rookies do. That's okay. Look, the playoffs are gone. Nobody internally can say it. I understand why. But we all know it, and so do they. Now is the time to get this project going. If for no other reason than to make sure he isn't a project anymore by 2026. Mlodzinski would help this bullpen. A bullpen that largely hasn't been an issue outside of a few very notable blow-ups. Even last night, Chase Shugart has not been a problem. He's been very good. So he has one bad inning. I'm not ready to just flush him because of one bad inning. It sucks because it lost them the game last night. But I still think there's some ways they can strengthen this bullpen with Mlodzinski and strengthen the rotation with Bubba. That's what I'd like to see them do next. This just makes too much sense. And with all the talent they've brought into the organization to instruct the pitching staff, I can't fathom why you wouldn't want him up here working with Strom and Marin like yesterday. They haven't cared about Super 2 ever since O'Neill Cruz. So I can't see this being a thing that we have to worry about. To me, Bubba's coming, and it really might as well just be now. Carmen Mlodzinski's had opportunity after opportunity to show anything different. He had his very best outing of the season against the Cardinals earlier in the year at home. He got another crack at the Cardinals last night. I was particularly interested to see how this outing would go because it's one thing to see a guy a couple times through the rotation. It's another thing to see them multiple times in a season. You start to really get familiar with them. You remember, you can look at video of your own at-bats against him from earlier in the season in many cases. You kind of can formulate a plan that's a little more tangible than just what analytics tell you and what tape of watching him throw swords against other people might show you. And I think what the Cardinals saw was, well, if we wait this kid out, we're going to get our opportunities. And they did. They ran up his pitch count to the point where he was throwing his 48th pitch, I believe, in the second inning. And they got a couple solo shots off of him. He ended up leaving the game after 4 2/3. I don't know what else to say here about the Carmen Mlodzinski thing. There's been no stretching. There's been no ability to get past the fifth. And I mean, he hasn't had the pitch count available to get past the fifth. He hasn't performed well enough to get past the fifth. And in many cases, he hasn't even gotten to, to the fifth. Uh, there's no shame in admitting that the guy's a bullpen arm. I don't know what else to say. I think he's a good one. I think he's a real good one. The longer they continue with this project, the more I think it starts to like go from an experiment to something that's actually damaging his reputation a little bit. I think there's going to be fans that don't forget some of the later in his starting outing efforts, and they'll forget that he's actually a quality bullpen arm. I just don't think they need to do it. I really don't. I understand holding off on Bubba at the beginning of the year, but I felt like there was other starting options they could have tried here a couple times. Again, Carmen Mlodzinski was like a first round pick. So it's not as though I feel this was a complete waste of time or effort. Kid wanted to start. They had a whole crop up last minute with Jarrett Jones going on the IL. Hey, I get it. I give you credit for giving him a shot. I give him credit for honestly putting his best foot forward. He tried. I mean, I think he legitimately has tried to evolve as a starting pitcher here. He's tried to change the way he approaches the other team. This game in particular, I watched him very meticulously try to hold back on some of his pitches so that they didn't see it the first time through, so that he could come back with it the second time. That's what starting pitchers are supposed to do. It's what everybody teaches you to do. What I think we discovered is if Carmen Mlodzinski isn't using his entire arsenal, well, he doesn't have the ability to put guys away real easily. And that makes the pitch count go up even more than it does when he's using all of his repertoire and just trying to hunt strikeouts early. I think it makes him less effective to cut his pitching repertoire down in order to try to face guys more often in a game than if he was in the bullpen where he could just let everything fly, whatever's working that day. All he has to worry about is what's right in front of him. That's all I'm saying. Out of mercy for the kid at this point, move him to the bullpen. It's the right thing to do. This isn't stroking his ego anymore, and I don't think that we're fooling anyone, including him. Bubba Chandler is a starter. Bubba Chandler's proven that he's ready. It's time to make this change. I think it could come as early as this weekend, and I only wish that I thought they were smart enough to do it for sure. When we come back, I want to talk about two coaches we haven't been talking about that I think also need to join Mr. Shelton on the unemployment line. Did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, or I guess eggs, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Hit the subscribe button for me if you don't mind. We just hit a nice milestone, actually. You guys got me all the way up to 2,400 subscribers. I think we're actually a little over it now. Keep it coming, man. The likes, the comments, it all helps. The channel's growing, and I may not understand how you guys get this kind of dedication for a team that isn't dedicated to giving you a winner, but I appreciate your dedication to the show very much so. So here's a suggestion. Hire a real fielding instructor and fire Mike Rabello, the third base coach, and Tarek Brock, the first base coach. Mike Rabello works with the infielders. Tarek Brock works with the outfielders. This team has been poor defensively and fundamentally since the club cut ties with Joey Cora after 2020. He was a piss poor third base coach, but he also was a virtuoso with instructing fielders and preaching fundamentals. Tarek Brock coaches first base. Honestly, I don't care if they keep him there. He doesn't do anything wrong at first base, but he is coaching the outfielders, and frankly, it's been a mess out there his entire tenure. Poor communication, fear to take charge, poor throw decisions, inexplicable attempts to catch an uncatchable ball, inability to understand the intricacies of playing outfield at PNC Park, terrible base running, with a focus on the lack of awareness as it comes to when to go or tag or stay put, and way, way more. Those two are Derek Shelton's eyes and ears on the field. He says on the record when asked about defensive issues that he'll have to talk to T. Brock or Mike Rabello. And all I can say is in 5 years, we can't teach everyone in the outfield that the center fielder takes charge on every fly ball he wants. 5 years, we can't have guys going back to tag with 2 outs. We can't have them understand that's not what you do. We can't have them, I don't know, understand how many outs there are. Nobody's thought, hey, let's make an adjustment and make sure that they look at the third base coach or the first base coach and see how many fingers they're holding up. It's something that simple. 5 years, and we have guys getting picked off second base with 2 outs. Part of this issue is on Shelton, to be sure. He's the one who changed the lineup almost daily until very recently, preventing any kind of gelling that might happen in the field. Just through growing to trust your teammates. He's the one who keeps starting guys out of position. And ultimately, he's the one who has happily delegated this work to 2 guys who simply haven't produced. They haven't produced anything positive. For 5 years, he sat there watching it and never felt the need to make a change or take it over himself. I mean, we've seen even back in the early days, Derek Shelton took over personally stepping in on the hitting coach before they went and got Andy Haynes, because believe it or not, they really liked Andy Haynes. He didn't trust the one before him. I just think that we've seen him step in on situations before. This should be another one. These coaches don't get a lot of fanfare. In fact, if you've talked about any of them, you've probably talked about Mike Rabello and his poor sends to home, right? Well, part of that is on him for just not doing a good job or not recognizing who's going to score or who isn't. But a big part of the third base coach issue, at least with this team, is they are trying to have an overall philosophy of aggressiveness on the base paths. We saw a lot of that earlier where they wanted to steal and they were constantly stealing and whatnot. We've seen them cool off on that, especially as it's been kind of made apparent to the league that that's something they want to do, teams have been combating it. Well, that's to be expected. But as so often happens with the Pittsburgh Pirates, they state an intention, and then they think that stating that intention is the same as executing that intention. Okay? So I want to be aggressive. I want to be aggressive and try to score runs. Should not mean sending lambs to the slaughter around third base. But that's what it means far too often. What aggressiveness really means for a third base coach is if you think that it should take an exceptional play to get the runner out at home plate, you send the runner. If you think it should take a good play, you probably send the runner. If you think it's a routine play that most outfielders should be able to make that throw, you don't send the runner. Well, therein lies the problem with Mike Ribello. I don't think he does a very good job of recognizing which is which. I also don't think he necessarily knows how fast his own runners are, which I got to be honest with you. Maybe that's because a lot of them aren't rounding third very often. So how often are you seeing it? That said, you can't be around this team for very long and not recognize that, like, Joey Bart's a station-to-station player. I mean, Joey Bart struggles to get a double when he hits a double. He's not going to score on an awful lot of sharply hit singles to right field. You know, he's just not. And he doesn't get good breaks on jumps like after the hit's been made. He's certainly not a guy that's like accustomed to tagging up. And if he is, you better be pretty deep for real. You can't have like a mid-range fly ball with him. You know, you're in trouble if you think Joey Bart's going to run that down. Picking on Joey Bart a little bit, but they've got a lot of guys like that who just don't have the wheels that he's assuming they do. And sometimes I think the guys just don't know when to go halfway between second and third so that they're already like in position. So when the ball falls, they can get where they need to get. We have a lot of them almost retreat all the way to second base. Like they were going to tag on a shallow fly ball one way or another. There's no reason to do that. You go halfway. Even if you think that ball is going to get caught, you're not going to tag and run to third there. These are the basic technique type things that I just don't feel they're being coached on. Really, the backside of what they do is the fielding. And it's awful. It's just awful. The decision making that some of these guys make, the inability to hit the cutoff man, not knowing where the cutoff man should be, not knowing when it's appropriate to throw home or when it's appropriate to throw to second or the cutoff man or third. There's so many things like that. Situationally, this team just does not seem aware of. And I'm not going to tell you like in the moment, I necessarily know which is right. I'm watching it on TV or in stadium. And I would say in stadium, it's a little bit easier to kind of see the whole field and understand what's going on and where the ball should go. If you just watch it on TV, it's very hard until like you get to the replay point and they really break it down for you. But like if you're watching it live, there are times when they throw to the cutoff man and I'm like, oh, why didn't you throw home? I really think you had a shot to get the guy there. And if I see it really in detail, see the whole field and where everybody was, I tend to come to the realization that I was wrong. They probably shouldn't have. They didn't have time to throw home. That was the safe play. That was the smart play. So there are intricacies to it. It's not just like every time there's a mistake, somebody should have coached it up. I think sometimes there are gray areas with these things. O'Neal Cruz just made a beautiful throw home yesterday. A strike right to the plate. Got the out. I'm not 100% sure that the replay officials saw it correctly. It probably should have been overturned, but it was a beautiful throw. One way or another, that's a positive sign from O'Neal Cruz you want to see. Somebody's coaching him. So I am openly calling for the firing of somebody that is openly coaching O'Neal Cruz to do something like that. But even on that play, was that the right play? It seemed pretty cut and dry, right? It seemed pretty cut and dry because he got the out. You know what I mean? And he had to throw it 100 miles an hour and pinpoint accurate strike from center field in order for that to be an out. That should probably tell you most of the time when you're going to throw home, you really don't have as much of a shot as you think you do. If anybody does, it is him. But to me, that's all the more reason to get some real good coaching in here. It's time for some fresh blood everywhere, not just Derek Shelton. We talk about him a lot, and he's the figurehead. Same reason I don't bring up Ben Cherington every time I talk about firing Derek Shelton. It's not like I think that's where it stops. But sometimes you really got to talk through all of it. And in that spirit, take a break and come back and talk about the scouting and analytics departments a little bit. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Gametime gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Pirates regular season is coming up, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. In fact, my favorite time to use it is when I'm traveling. I just used it last year when I went to a San Francisco Giants game in San Francisco. It was a last minute idea, and lo and behold, I got some nice, really affordable tickets and a great seat at a ballpark I wasn't all that familiar with before. So really, really good service. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. One last segment on this Tuesday. Before I let you all go and you get to go watch Skeens Day, and hopefully you get a good Skeens Day, because boy, this team really needs one. I think we as fans really need one. We need something to bring us back to some kind of a state of okay, things are at least a little fun here and there, because it's been rough to watch lately. Replace the pro scouts, and the analytics department needs work too. That's the topic here in the third segment. This affects multiple things on the baseball team. Scouting of upcoming competition. Pirates have access to all the same information that, say, Michael from my site has when he's putting together his daily looks at the pitchers. And this isn't to denigrate Michael. It's just to say a blogger shouldn't be out preparing your preparation. That's one aspect of pro scouting. And frankly, it's really got more to do with how the information is gathered and presented, because again, the numbers are the numbers. You have to have this person providing you with warnings about pickoff moves, arm strength in the outfield, arm strength of the catcher, timing games of pitcher plays, stuff like that. The next is talent acquisition. That's the next responsibility of this pro scout. And because Ben Cherington rightfully owns this deficiency, I just want to make it clear that he's relying on others to inform his decisions. This one targets like the draft picks, trade targets, guys they're willing to trade in the first place, the ceilings and basement evaluations of players, all of it. This team has a great unit for pitching and training them. They don't have anything close on offense, and it's painfully apparent. Regardless of keeping or firing Cherington in season, this needs upgraded. Mainly because I can't assume he's been getting great advice and ignoring it. I have to assume he and his team of scouts are incapable of recognizing offensive talent. And it's not just about taking long shots at guys like Alexander Canario. Long shots will happen with every team. And everyone involved knows that's what it is. No, this isn't about examining Tommy Pham with other viable candidates on the market for similar price and thinking this was not only a decent signing for the team, but a valuable reason the team would start winning. This stuff is beyond not working. Factor in the allegiance to the bloated and over-considered analytics department that have been employed and grown every single season by Ben Cherington. Look, I'm not blaming analytics. I know a lot of you do. They are a valuable part of every major league club. But when they present so much of it to the players that it actually starts finding ways to contradict itself, there's an issue. When you present so many contrived calculations that you use them to convince a team Tommy Pham is a lot more than anyone with eyes would tell you, it's a big issue. You got to fix these things. All the things we talked about in this episode today. If you do, you have a chance to actually start turning the Titanic away from the iceberg. Yeah. Fire Cherington whenever. My point is, even if he goes, the replacement in season would be somebody already here, someone hired by Cherington most likely, someone who has already been doing the job the way it's been done and not likely to hire or fire any of these pieces that support the overall system. By all means, replace Cherington whenever you like. But it's a lot like replacing a CEO of a failing company. The likelihood that he or she turns it around with all the same parts and pieces in the short term is almost nothing. Even over time, there would have to be changes. And trust me, the new CEO isn't canceling all the orders and process when they come on board, even if they're done the wrong way. The draft has already largely been sketched out. I know that's hard to believe before the draft lottery has even taken place, but they have a top 50 board at least. And the guys on it, they'll change a bit as we get closer, but all that work that goes into it will remain, even if they make a change. On the trade front, maybe you get someone a bit more bold. But you would have to factor in just how bold the team would allow an interim anything to be. It's a mess. And it got here from neglect, complacency, and overt cheapness. These things might not fulfill your wish list of everything that needs changed with this team. But some of these very boring things are things that need to happen. Beyond naming the guys we know, it's important to understand that the structure underneath has been deficient as well. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long, get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB or YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts.